Am greater than the I that I created. That's what enlightenment was all about, the inner power within, doing the work, and sometimes it gets away from me, folks, and I forget that I am the greater power, and I slip back into other things, and I say, oh, things outside of me today are greater than the power within. But, hey, that's part of the journey. That's part of the journey. That's part of the journey, part of understanding that what we do in life produces results. And these results come from our actions. So I want to thank you for your wonderful insights. And
You're welcome.
have a great day.
You as well.
Yeah, okay, Sister Carolyn. All right. That was Sister Carolyn, folks, giving us the insights. I'm back now. I was talking with her as she was doing a meditation, so those on the one side of the broadcast can hear it, but on the place where I am now, I am greater than the I that I created. This broadcast is about Enlightenism. It's about powers of the mind. It's about powers of the mind and the great power that we have in our minds. I am greater than the I that I created. I bring into my life today the power and clarity to know that I am greater than the outside world can perceive me. I have a great power within me that transcends all of the lack, limitation, and struggle in my life. I welcome it all into me because the vessel of power resonates throughout my mind. So I was gesturing this in to say this is how the power flows. But it flows from inside out into the world. Just go inside and into the world. But we who are on the journey of inner mind power, we have a perspective about life and about power. When you live your life in the outside world, the external world, it has its own rules and regulations. It has things and policies and so forth that you must adhere to. Well, in the mind, there are rules and regulations. And one of the rules and regulations is that you have to let go of your dependency on others for power and clarity, and for beliefs and values that keep you imprisoned in the past. When I say in the past, what I'm speaking about is that we all were dependent on people in the past in order to live in the world, in the present moment. And the new thought people, and many of the people that were supposed to be dealing with new thought, believed that you could just say, I'm in the present moment, and I am actually in the present moment. But who are you aware of being determines the moment that you're in. And if you are aware of being powerless, a victim, feeling overwhelmed by lack, limitation, or struggle, you may be physically living in the past and you're in the present, and your mind tells you you're in the present, but the beliefs that are defining your awareness of being come from the past. Whenever we feel lack and limitation in our lives, then we must struggle for things. Struggle exists outside of us. And when you look at the stars in the universe, you don't see any struggle. Everything is effortless and it's peaceful. It's peaceful looking. And peace is something that comes from within. When you awaken today, did you really awaken to understand yourself? Or did you awaken to go do something that you're committed to doing, like working on something? That's what we do here. We keep things going in our lives because we believe it's a requirement. It's a requirement for us to live. That we follow little pieces. We do little pieces of the puzzle, so to speak. We perform a little job. It's like in a corporation. Everyone has a little piece. The receptionist may not seem like he or she has a piece of it, and that they're not as important as a vice president or another corporate officer. They may not seem important because all you believe you're doing is answering the telephone, and not realize that if you're not performing your piece correctly, the rest of it crumbles. It begins to crumble. So someone says you have to play a role in society. And if the role that you're playing in society is for you to be unhappy and to create a victimized mind where you are powerless, then that's your piece. And then we say that the world is dependent upon that piece. The society, I should say, is dependent upon you being a victim and powerless in order for it to work, to function properly. So it's just like thinking of the receptionist who feels that her life or his life is not that important. We begin to feel like our lives are not that important. And then when you see the importance of your life, the greatness in your life, then you say, well, I don't want to do this anymore. I no longer want to think of myself as powerless. I no longer want to depend on generational beliefs about who I am. I no longer want to carry the torch of victimization and pass it on to another generation. I am freeing myself from myself. I am freeing myself from my toxic, powerless self. And this is a new freedom. This is what I call the other freedom, the freedom of enlightenism. And when you change your piece of participation in the whole, the greater society, then things will begin to unravel in your life. And it will be in others' life who interact with you. Because they will be able to say to you, you're not acting right. Don't you see? Don't you want to get aboard the train of toxicity and enjoy the fruits of society? This is what we live for. We live for this world, this illusory world that we're in, not for ourselves. So it's easy to begin your day in bringing in the light into your thoughts, into your beliefs, so that your actions manifest and express an awareness of being whole, perfect, and complete. Then you see, when you think about it, folks, when you get to that level, then you understand. See, everyone understands. Everyone will understand what I'm talking about at some point. And because I have seen several people who are in the dying process. And every person of the ones that I saw basically believed that they were going or transitioning to another side. The other side is what they said. And that there was a resonation within each one of them that they were no longer living in the outside. Now things were coming on the inside. And you've heard the stories that people never think about going to work, doing all of the things that they have been doing, when they believe that they have a problem. And the problem is going to cause them to cease and desist. You never think about it. You never think about anything at that moment but who you are and yourself. Suddenly, you think about your life. You think about who you are and what is happening to you. And when you're alive and you're working on the inward journey, this is what you feel. You're focusing on yourself. You're letting the part of you die. You're letting the victim in you die. And the victim is fighting to live. That part of you that knows about Columbus discovering America, that knows about all of the U.S. presidents, knows about the countries of the world, knows about information about in the society, how to count money, how to earn money, how to buy things with money, exchange it for goods and services. That's what's dying. Not that you're not going to use the money, but the attachment to the money and to the beliefs. So now it's a different mindset. It's a freedom that is unknown in the illusory world. Because freedom in the illusory world means the escape from something unpleasant, basically. In other words, if you have shackles and chains on today, you feel imprisoned. Remove the shackles and chains and replace them with a cage. You still feel imprisoned. Remove the cage and you step outside and you still feel imprisoned. Because the mind which I am talking about today, the powers of the mind have been impacted and affected by your beliefs. And it causes us to forget ourselves. Forget you, the individual. So when someone asks the professor in the university, who are you aware of being? And what can you tell me about this awareness of being? And what is the source of the power you're using to teach the students? And he or she can clearly tell you what it is. I'm relying on a curriculum that I develop and so forth. And if you're teaching philosophy, then I have this process that I'm using so someone can learn philosophy through the different stages. I only teach a part of it. Someone else teaches something else. But that's my part. That's who I am. And when we define ourselves by our work on the outside world, then we are not defining ourselves by the work on the inside, because it would kind of seem silly. It seems silly to people in Toxicity if the man said, what's the source of your power? The consciousness within. And then all of the philosophy people would say, define consciousness. And catch you in a trick bag. So now you're trying to define what Husserl meant by consciousness. You're trying to find what John Paul Sartre thought about it. And you're trying to find out about what Nietzsche or somebody else said about it. And now you're in the outside world, where doubts about the power I am talking about exist. See, the doubts about who you are come from the outside world and people in the outside world who will not allow you to escape, to free yourself from the cages that have been built around the movements in your mind. They're not going to let you out. Just keep expanding the cage. So you start with a small cage, drop that one, you give the illusion that I'm getting some freedom. I'm transitioning from an adolescent to an adult. So now my cage and my movement is larger than it was when I was a kid or a teenager, whatever. But what is really happening to us in this development, I call it the toxic development of the mind. It creates dependency. And we become, in a real sense, like the animals in the world, who from one generation to the next, information and habits and so forth is passed on so that the new generation can continue to survive. And that's the operative word, survive. But not to be creative. Because there are limitations placed on the survival of a lion and an elephant and a human being. There are things that we have and we possess that allows us to do things that other species cannot do. Why? Well, the answer is very clear. We have the greater power of God existing in us as consciousness. Plain and simple. This power that is in us is so strong that we can do things that no one can even imagine that we can do. It is for the person who really gets into themselves in consciousness and goes deeper into consciousness and pulls the light deeper. It comes going deeper and you're exhaling it out with your actions and your thoughts. And then you recognize, wow, this is real power. It's not power in a bomb. It's not power in a university. It's greater. This is a greater power. Far greater. So that the power that we have created and used is like child's play. Like kids playing a game. This is the power I'm talking about. But it's a power that you must discover for yourself. The power is not going to help you unless you are willing to connect with the power. You have to go to the power. And you must cleanse your mind in order to go to the power so that you can communicate effectively with the power, not as a victim, but as someone who is searching for the truth within. And I desire to know the truth about who I am. And the answer must come from within my consciousness. And in this consciousness of truth that is within me is the power and clarity to see myself without my beliefs, without my generational beliefs, without my victim beliefs, without my powerless beliefs, without me depending and following the crowd. The crowd that's leading me on a path. If I am following the crowd, the toxicity crowd, then I am on a path to self-destruction. And it's going to end with me never knowing who I am, never expressing the great power in my life, but reflecting on a life of great pain and suffering and confusion. Enlightenism is power and clarity. So you're not dealing with confusion. And you have the power to overcome what others have taught you about yourself and say that I am greater than the I that I created. I am greater than the I that I created. That's what this broadcast is about. That's what the work is about. That's what the work that I'm doing about. Now, Sister Carol, we are doing the work to overcome our dependency on others. Thank you for stopping by. join us again on one of our broadcasts. Check out the book Enlightenism and understand and never forget, you have the greater power of God in you. Act like it. Discover this power for yourself. It is not a religion, folks. It's not even a traditional spirituality. This is the power of the mind and the consciousness within you to say, I am greater than the I that I created. I'm Brother Malcolm. Thank you for stopping by. Have a great day.